Novak will be looking to be clinical tonight.
Karatsev very, very solid off the backhand wing, especially. Can generate plenty of pace off the forehand side, but the backhand side is just solid as a rock. I don't think he'll be worried about exchanging backhand to backhand with Novak.
You say he won't be worried, but how much benefit will he get in that exchange?
Well, it'll be interesting. We had this conversation earlier with a couple of guys. You know, do you play to your own strength, or do you try and find a weakness? And where do you find a weakness with Novak Djokovic anyway? So I think it's smarter for Karatsev to look to do the things that he's most comfortable with, and that will probably be teeing up backhand to backhand when he can create that a little bit. Novak enjoys his analytics, so although he may not know Karatsev, I think he will have looked at plenty of tendencies.
Cecchinato at the French 2018, and Chung here in Australia 2018. Dennis Isterman, as I mentioned, Marat Safin 2008, he dropped down to 75. Paul Goldstein here 2006, and Fernando Verdasco, but they were many moons ago, those last couple.
You're going back to the early days of Novak.
Lovely.
To be expected, the crowd pulling a bit for the underdog early on.
Delivers quick second serves. A little bit quicker than he normally does at 179, but he'll be comfortably up around the high 160s with his second serve. I got a pretty good taste of that in his previous round in terms of quick second serves. Fitzy, that's a nice game for him. Nice settling game.
Well, it was a settling game. He looks incredibly relaxed to me. It looks like he's not overawed at all, you know, on a big court like this in front of a live crowd against the best player he's ever played against. Yeah, it's impressive. He's got no look of fear on his face. The crowd definitely want to see a competitive match here, though. They're ready to support him in the early stages.
Well, you have to figure that Karatsev is going into this match with quite a bit of knowledge about his opponent. Obviously, you can find video anywhere you want to, but he's also very close with Daniil Medvedev and with Andrei Rublev. He was on the ATP Cup with those guys. You have to imagine that he tapped into that knowledge about how he should play, what kind of things he can do to take advantage of any little chinks in the armor that Novak might have. Attacked by a moth. Crazy aggressive Australian moths, Fitzy.
Actually looks more at home in this match than he did early on against Dimitrov, as we see a nice replay there of the moth.
Is that a moth or a butterfly? I think that might have been a butterfly. It looks like a butterfly.
That is a butterfly.
Aggressive wildlife in Australia.
He does have a great forehand on the run. He has a great forehand return on the deuce side, cross court. Snaps off a lot of winners, but that was extra special. Deadly accurate. Game for Novak Djokovic, and we definitely do at the moment at least have a match on our hands. 2-1. He's emerged as the man that has stayed atop of the pile for longer than anyone else. Who's at the back of his box there, looking on.
Around all parts of the court. Saw him during ATP Cup competing in the doubles. He's very comfortable at the net. We see here the balance and the movement to that last shot.
Tell early in a match, I think, if you have a question mark over a player's ability to stay with the world #1 or someone of that ilk, you look at how rushed a player like this would be, and to me, he's not rushed at all, actually. And he has a look of no fear. He looks confident enough, not overconfident, just believes he should be here. But he certainly looks like he's got time, which I think playing Novak in a situation like this, I think, is a very impressive asset. And he's a beast, or a bear.
Just looking at some of his numbers for this year, the one thing that does stand out for Novak is the amount of times he's going down the line with his forehand. 55% of the time he's going down the line with his forehand more times than he's going cross-court, and he's hitting it harder than he ever has done here. Again, Brad, I kind of think that must be the conditions where he wants to get the first strike in.
Yeah, I think that's also a relationship to the court this year, how fast the court is, and you're getting the benefit of taking more risk. A little bit more first strike tennis out here this year. The court playing a little bit faster, and the ball's playing a little bit faster as well. More so than they did last year. And then you add into that hotter conditions today, which speeds everything up. That's just for today, but I think the court speed has definitely convinced Novak that there's a good equation there with high risk, high return.
Well, he hasn't been blindsided by Novak's brilliance so far. Certainly won't be troubled by the length of time it's taken Novak to get to the semi-finals here at the Australian Open this year. He's never won a major without dropping a set at some stage.
13-15.
Interesting play there by Karatsev. Took a strong move to his right, almost standing in the middle of the box, giving away the backhand corners, almost challenging Novak to serve to his backhand side. He's a little bit more towards the sideline now than he was the last time. He moved over a good 1.5 feet towards the middle of the court there. Was basically saying, hey, you want to try and ace me out wide? Go ahead. Players in general maybe take Rublev slightly out of that, but they tend to be such tacticians of the game. And again, going back to his friendship with those other top players that have obviously competed against Novak on a more regular basis. I'm sure they've given him some input, so that may be something, him playing some little games, trying to figure some things out.
No matter how good the intel is that you get given before a match, though, you've still got to have the quality.
Absolutely. You've got to execute under the pressure and in the moment.
Here's a real chance for the Russian.
He tried to take it. He certainly wasn't passive there.
Russian, who averages 83 miles an hour off that wing off the forehand side. Novak at 79. Has the most winners off the forehand as well. Karatsev out of all the 4 semi-finalists. That he knows that he's in a bit of a battle here at the start of this semi-final. Novak 3-2.
Love 50. Let's first.
He opened the door slightly with that double fault. Novak sensing the moment as soon as he got that forehand middle of the court, feet underneath him, good balance, just up the ante on that ball. Aslan Karatsev up the ante on that backhand.
15-13.
Stepped in and drove that ball with some serious intent and pace.
He's just playing the long game so nicely out here as well. No sense of sort of instant gratification in the early on in the rally. He's building the point until he can really take it off. It's impressive.
Still not totally out of the woods here in this game at 30 all. He's past the first little pop quiz for the match. Love 30 to get back to 30 all.
Well, you can slice and dice all you like in this game and it will get you somewhere, but you need to have some heavy artillery at times against the very best. And there is absolutely no doubt that Karatsev has it. Bludgeons that forehand.
It's just big tennis.
Settling into his first ever major semi-final, as though he was born for this.
3 minutes.
His transference of weight is really impressive too. He's strong, like an ox actually. He's got the leg strength. And I mentioned this the other day, some of the biggest calf muscles I've seen on a tennis player in a while. But he's got good transference of weight as well. And the whole package really puts some weight and heaviness behind the ground stroke. Those 3 shots were as impressive as we've seen, I think.
Novak starting to get a little edgy as we've seen him through a number of the matches.
Explain why he wants to play so fast at times in a match.
I mean, I'm not sure I can explain it, Mark. I don't entirely understand it. I mean, maybe he wants to... Maybe he wants to get through the game faster to put the pressure back on the opponent, but I mean, most conventional wisdom wouldn't agree with him trying to play a lot faster here. And not only that, but you see as he's demanding the ball from the ball kids that he just seems edgy. He just seems a little bit stressed out under that situation. So we see the butterfly back there.
Kind of the perfect symbol for Karatsev, the butterfly, aren't they? Coming out of the cocoon into this. And he has burst forth into the tennis world's consciousness.
Sorry guys, I don't know where this guy's been hiding. This is a pretty astounding tennis. I mean, that topspin lob he held, and Mark, I think the analogy you used, born for this, it looks like it. He's playing some stuff that's beyond most of the guys in this draw.
Credit to him. What a contest.
14-15.
As we see Novak slowed back down again.
this is lovely to watch. Some real elite skill on show tonight on the Rod Laver Arena court. World number 1, 4-3, opening set.
And as you said, he's actually been pushed. He's actually been pushed a bit, which all credit to Novak. He has played very well through these first 7 games.
Absolutely. If he hadn't have played as well, there'd be a breakdown.
Absolutely, 100%. We'd be looking at him behind in this set.
He was a good junior in Russia, but spent the majority of his formative years on the tour with the sponsorship calls being redirected to higher profile Russians. Did have a bit of success, obviously, with a challenger win back in 2015, but a slight knee injury, of course, 3 years ago that stopped some progress. But the metamorphosis into this player is...
Tell me if I'm wrong, Petch, but when he had that knee injury, he was heading towards the top 100. He was about 130, I think.
Yeah. And
actually making some good progress. So we may have seen him earlier had he not had that injury.
So the problem I see here for him, though, is that surely he has played at the peak of his ability. He's played at a super high level. What if he loses this set? Then what?
Well, I think it's what you said earlier, Fitz. The question is, can he maintain this level over the course of 2.5, 3 hours if he can stay out here that long in the first place?
Yeah, it's whether he's got another gear to go to, and to me, even though he's relaxed looking and he's played within himself in his body language, surely he's redlining on the tachometer. And when you do that and you don't win the first set, it's tough to increase the revs.
And he's in some serious trouble here now in this game.
Storm. He was caught in a little bit of a riptide early on here, and he just went with the flow.
Djokovic.
And he's come out of it there.
Djokovic,
and you can see the shoreline.
Yeah, as much as we've been singing the praises of Karatsev, all credit to Novak.
Yeah.
I mean, it would have been easy under these circumstances to get a little frustrated with how well Karatsev was playing, a little irritated, and have that potentially affect his performance, but didn't happen at all. One of the many, many, many reasons why he's the #1 player in the world.
I think this surface just suits Novak beautifully. The ball certainly comes onto the racket more this year than it has in the past. The court speed is slightly quicker, and this ball coming onto Novak's racket is just like bliss for him, I would think.
Because he's drilling it faster than ever before as well, it's traveling further, it's therefore deeper, and it's coming into players just that much quicker.
Well, I agree with Fitz. I think this court suits him so well because it creates more offense for him just naturally. He doesn't get pushed too often deep in the court.
And it helps him serve as well.
And it helps his serve.
Differential and aces is just...
We know how accurate he is with his serve anyway. And then you add a little bit of help with the ball skidding through the court. It's just that much more effective.
Well, in the end, he won the opening set, running away with it. But it was a good challenge early on for the first half. And then it was all Novak Djokovic in the second. 6-3. Felt a lot closer than that, didn't it? 29 points to 17. So a little bit of everything for him. Big winners, touch at the net. He's an all-court player as well. He's not just solid from the back of the court. That was a brilliant attempted pass, just tucking him up. How well did he defend that, the Russian?
Yeah, it was defensive volley coming right off the body. And then really athletic on the overhead.
To win the point, and it was that good. Even the world's best can't believe it.
39.
This was not an easy ball right here. Down low with two hands. I thought he was going to have to let go and slice that. He got it so deep in the court.
Start to the second set.
First game, second set.
Picked up a couple of titles, lost in the final to Stan Wawrinka, the first of the Prague Challengers back then, and he has simply not looked back.
I want to know who the guy was that beat him in the Challenger, mate, because he's worth investing in.
Well, that was Stan Wawrinka. We're going to invest in him. You'd invest in him, wouldn't you?
Can you buy shares?
Yeah, those matches in the US were shown on TV, actually. You had to search to find them, but some of the matches in Saddlebrook, I mean, there were junior players, there were collegiate players, there were futures level guys, so just anybody and everybody. They were getting in and playing for small prize money amounts, but tons of tennis. It was the best you could do during the pandemic to find some competition.
Yeah, he actually couldn't even travel with his coach to those challenges because of the restrictions around pandemic as well. Karatsev was on his own. His coach must have been a bit nervous whether he was going to get another phone call.
How talented was that? Did you see that reverse backhand from Novak there? That defence? Was that the back of his racket that he used?
50.
Let's see that again.
You need the defensive skills. There we go.
Yeah.
Incredible.
My boy Tommy Paul does that sometimes, and I get really irritated.
Well, how's that discussion going to go now, Brad, that the world #1 does it?
We didn't win the point.
Yeah, but
He didn't win the point.
so that's your only. That's the parameters that you set. If you win the point, that's it. So if you slice,
if you can prove to me that you could win the point making that play on a consistent basis,
if you slice
I'm
short
aboard.
and the guy comes in and wins the point, do you never go to that play again?
He could have lobbed. Could have lobbed from a normal position with the racket in the correct spot.
Tommy loves having dinner with you.
I'm also not a fan of Cain.
Djokovic.
Looks good. Always looks good.
1.
Doesn't win a whole heck of a lot of points.
It's true.
Was that the tweener you talked about?
Yeah, I'm just saying,
Yeah.
going back to hitting that on the wrong side of the racket fits. Like, don't like that. Don't like the tweener too much. Yeah.
Are we old-fashioned? I can't stand it.
I mean, he's got every opportunity to hit that a normal slice, lob.
I do feel as though you guys would be getting discounts on public transport.
I like percentage plays.
Love 15.
Yeah, Novak doing some great work on the second serve of the Russian. And that pressure will be building in Karatsev's mind as well. Paramount importance, the first serve. Oh, that is Novak at his finest. How late did he leave that to flick it cross court?
So smooth and controlled there. The other thing is when you lose that first point against Novak, you already start to feel the pressure, knowing his percentages of returns in play, and that once he gets the ball in play, he's just tough to beat.
By the way, no sign of a stomach issue, right?
It was interesting on the changeover. He took his shirt off, and I was very focused on whether he had any kind of strapping or even marks from, you know, some cupping, that type of stuff, and there didn't look to be anything at all.
Such a smart return. It's not just up the middle of the court. We talk a lot about it. It's up the middle with pace. It was just, and it's coming in at an angle. It's not easy to redirect that ball. As the direction of this second set looks to be going towards Novak. Well, the pressure was too much, and the dam wall broke, courtesy of a double fault. Novak up a break in the second.
Djokovic leads by 2-1.
Tennis Australia have been the dream makers for these tennis players.
15.
Certainly, I'm sure, surpassed this man's dreams as well, what he's managed to achieve here. Of course, started in Doha at qualifying as well. Makes it even more remarkable.
13.
He's activated don't miss mode.
lockdown after lockdown.
And Karatsev getting locked out. Could have finished the match there.
40-15.
Lendl might have.
Lendl might have. Nice little shovel, push, forehand up the line there.
Lendl would have.
With pace.
It's almost steered it there. Having said that, he is most definitely the passenger at the moment. Novak in the driving seat. His opponent there, asking the question to see whether he was willing to redirect.
3-1.
Karatsev tried to, but failed.
It's interesting there, as I spoke about earlier, him probably not feeling uncomfortable to stay in that backhand-to-backhand rally, but as we saw there, it's at some point you start to feel the pressure with Novak that you have to do something with the ball.
Just starting to look a little late, isn't he? He looks so smooth and balanced the first sort of half an hour. Now he looks a little bit pushed back, a little bit off balance, and going for a bit more, which is risking too much.
Mark and I were just looking at the same thing up here, and we're 13.5 games into the match, and Novak has
how many unforced errors, Fitz?
Yeah, I don't have that stats in front of me, but it's low. Let me guess.
It's the same number as his ranking.
Come on.
How good is this?
Well, 2 years ago when he beat Rafa in the final here, I thought no human being can play tennis that well. I hadn't seen it before. I don't think he's a staggering player.
Still one unforced error.
Djokovic.
And it is Novak a set and a double break to the good.
Djokovic leads by 4-1.
It's maybe a statement of how much he came into the match with respect for Karatsev, that he's performed this well. A little bit less respect, he may have been a little looser and thrown a few more errors in.
Definitely a fair observation. course, has the extra incentive of having the days off from here on in as well. So he's got an extra 2.5 days. Obviously, if he does have any kind of lingering problem with that abdominal muscle, oblique, whatever it is, then obviously that extra time off is going to be ideal for him. And if he can get through this swiftly without exerting too much stress on it, all the better. He's even going to a little serve and volley there. He's putting on a show.
He's firing the cylinders right now.
Yeah, it's a one-man show. Still worth watching, though, that's for sure. Got him. He's right with you, Fitzy.
Yeah, he got close.
He got close to greatness.
Well, yeah. Yeah, that's a play on words. His facial expression there was so nonchalant. Is that an unforced error?
No.
I don't think so.
15 all.
When you missed a return at 188 Ks, did you feel it was unforced error?
Look, I think he should be judged through different eyes. I think let's use a different lens. I'm calling that an unforced error.
We'll put you in charge of the stats, Fitz.
It didn't go down as one, I can tell you that, whoever is doing it. Technically, not too much is going to go wrong.
14-15.
Second game on the board for Karatsev in the second set. That backhand showing fallibility again, Brad.
I question as to whether that was an unforced error. It was pretty forced. He was forced to the outside leg there. He was stretching out a little bit.
If I was doing the stats, I wouldn't have put it down, but it did go down as one.
It did go down as one on our stats board, but I would not have listed that as an unforced error. I felt that he was definitely forced into that mistake.
Mark, I'm questioning whether Bradley Stein's gone a little soft on us. He's got a man crush here. But no, I agree. I do. I think it's also a possibility that he's just mentally taken the foot off the accelerator slightly here, leading 6-3, 5-1. Not quite the intensity that we saw before that, maybe. Yeah, maybe it's back.
I was going to say, I was glad you put the maybe in the end of that sentence. Give yourself some wriggle room, something that Karatsev doesn't have in this match.
That short ball down the middle. Very Russian.
I'm not sure about up there, but down here, when he misses a ball, for him that was an easy shot, and it stands out like a beacon. It's like a shock when he misses one.
Can the Russian get his first break point of the contest? He's been given it.
13.
I think you were right on the money there earlier. If it's maybe a little bit of a drop off in his focus at 6-3, 5-1. Actually made it. That forehand was clearly enforced there, and then follows it up with
Thank you.
fault.
Laser, thank you.
Yeah, that second serve was like an experiment for him. He didn't need to hit that. If he kicked it in, he's odds on to win from the back of the court. So he experimental second serve as a first there.
Well, it was just a bit of a miss here. He didn't go for it too big, just didn't time it as well as he would have liked.
You can't let Novak Djokovic linger around in the game too long. You get an opportunity like that. Sat on that one a bit. Again, that goes back to my comments about getting some intel potentially from some of the other Russian guys, because no one on the tour serves more on second serves wide to the forehand side on that deuce court than Novak Djokovic. Karatsev was looking for that one that time, I think.
It's a huge roar from the crowd. They're finally back in the stadium and they want something competitive, and the Russian has certainly delivered there. Novak with a few more unforced errors in that game than we've seen. Karatsev adding to 31 return winners he had coming into this particular contest. It is part of his brand of tennis as well. Novak, Medvedev and Tsitsipas combined had 14 return winners. I mean, the Russian scorches the return when he can get his racket on it.
just goes to show you that our sport is really so much about error management. Most points end in an error from one player or the other. That game, as we were talking about previously, going into that game, Novak only had 1 unforced error and made 4 in that game. That's how you get broken in tennis.
Good fortune. Well, the game's changed out of sight, hasn't it? But even back in the 1920s, when the legendary Bill Tilden was playing, he still said most tennis matches are lost, not won.
I thought you were going to say back when Fitzy was playing in the 1920s.
No, we're not going to go back to the 19th century. Come on.
Sorry, Fitz. Sorry.
I don't mind you guys talking about last century in respect to me, but just not the 19th.
Big first serve there from Karatsev. I like the celebration.
Yeah, he's still involved. He's still got his heart and soul in this, hasn't he? Good to see. Why wouldn't you? It'd be wrong not to.
So well measured on that shot. His movement to the ball.
Novak just pointing to somebody in the crowd there who definitely made a noise before Karatsev hit the shot that was off-putting.
Please do not call out in the middle of the rally. Thank you. Please try to stay quiet during the
He has taken the foot off the accelerator a little bit. He's opened the door, just a crack here, and Karatsev taking advantage of it.
That one to the line, and his aspirations of breaking again to claim the second set very much alive with that shot.
Absolutely. Karatsev looked at that in disbelief. He thought that was going out the entire way.
Built so powerfully, he's got some nice subtlety to his game, the Russian. Lovely curling serve there.
He doesn't really have anything in his game that stands out as a major weakness. It's one of the things when you watch him play, it is hard to believe that it's taken him this long to break through into the top 100.
Well, he broke through for the first time in the match, breaking the world #1 for the first time, and he backs that up with a hold of serve. Novak, for a second time, will try and serve for a 2-sets-to-love lead. WTA event going on this week as well, giving players even more opportunities to play on their trip down under. But the main event very much on in the Rod Laver Arena. And the main man looking to put himself a set away from another Australian Open final. To manage that part of the court when somebody has such a good three-quarter forehand length.
We talk about depth in the game all the time, but actually being able to take that off shorter in the court and break the sideline first with the ball is so effective. And then you do it with the kind of pace that Karatsev is playing with from that position, and it's really damaging.
He wasn't going to repeat the mistake of his previous service game. Full of intensity, full of creativity.
I seriously doubt that we would have seen that little drop-off that we did in the last service game had he only been up one break.
Rallies of the entire Australian Open.
Longest rally of this match. Couldn't have come on a bigger point. Both guys unwilling to give in until Karatsev played the little short ball. Novak had some options on that. He got there relatively comfortably, but chose to try and re-drop off the drop shot.
Dropped in.
Wow.
And we thought this nascent comeback from Karatsev was going to get stopped in its tracks in this game. Set points have come and gone from the world #1, and that is good fortune. And just as we were on the verge of saying good night to Karatsev's chances here, another opportunity. The came and went.
Good response. I feel like the best players find first serves under those circumstances so much more often than the typical players do.
Yeah, you got a sense that that came through a little bit quicker than he was expecting. It was a bit rushed through the shot. Big time. Huge emotion here for Djokovic. And he really has been tested down the final straight in this second set. But ultimately, he is too good. Is a 2-set lead for the world #1.
2 sets to love.
Crowd always loves an underdog. And I think the Australian crowd also loves good tennis. They just want to see more of it.
Brad, the Australian crowd definitely loves an underdog, but there is a bucket load of love for Novak Djokovic here. The people here love him. They do. But they want to see a close match, and I think there was an indication there that he felt like his back was against the wall, and there was more support down the other end. But they just wanted to see this guy fight back a bit. It was too one-sided for them.
Love 15.
Yeah, I don't think all of that adrenaline's going to have left Novak's body at the end of that second set as well. This is going to be a pretty awkward game, you would feel, here for Karatsev, start of the third. That's going to get caught. Oh, it's dropped.
Love that.
To go back to your comment you just made, Patch, every game's a big game against Novak Djokovic. You just feel this constant pressure. Obviously, first game of the third here, if you go down an early break, 2 sets to love down, you just feel like you're swimming against the tide.
As though 5-1 up, he definitely hit a little bit of a flat spot. I mean, it wasn't much, but it was enough, because that's the quality from Karatsev down the other end, that he was good enough to take advantage. But after that big adrenaline push at the end of the second and the emotion, you can feel it still radiating out of him here. He's hungry to get an early break.
It's just the return capabilities for me when you watch him that it just doesn't give you anything for free on your serve. It creates constant pressure.
That's an amazing get. Do not dwell on the miss and think it was easy. I mean, how did that ball come back? Well, he's done what he can do. He hasn't over-invested in a strategy tonight, Karatsev. He's kind of managed his tennis well. He hasn't tried to over-hit it. But he doesn't have a lot of places to go now. Do you think there's any way he could stay back a little bit further,
30-15,
Karatsev, and take that ball on a forehand? Novak's serving quite a lot on the angle and into his left hip, and he's having to take it on the backhand and move outside the singles line.
I think the difficulty that's created in that is what I mentioned earlier, that Novak serves out wide to the forehand with the slider that stays low and goes away from you more than... player on tour, and in doing so he keeps you honest, where you question your ability to give away the forehand side and come around like you would against a lot of other players that would more traditionally hit a little bit of a kick or a topspin type second serve. It's very difficult. I feel like he freezes you from that standpoint.
Cain.
I've got a sense here he's going to put on a bit of a show for everyone, just to allow them to revel in his greatness. It's that slightly tricky period for him with the elbow injury back in 2017. Saw him being eclipsed for a little while by his great rivals, but that period there unquestionably infused his competitive desires again. And well, one wonders where he's going to end up at the end of this tournament in terms of Grand Slam titles.
It's amazing, you know, you talk about if you go back to 2018, I remember being on court with him during a practice session when I was coaching Kevin Anderson. And he was working with Radek Stepanek at the time, had kind of changed the team, and he was just lost. That practice session, it just stuck out in my mind. He just looked completely lost. And then he took a loss in the tournament to Taro Daniel early on, and just continued on that path for a bit, and then flick from Karatsev cross court was amazing. But yeah, then brought the team back on board. Makes the finals of Wimbledon, played Kevin in the finals of Wimbledon, wins that, and never looked back again.
Fourth in love.
He's done well here, Karatsev. There's an urgency about Novak's play at the moment, and he's just for the moment keeping him at bay. Which he does emphatically with that ace. That's fifth of the match. 2-1 Djokovic, third set.
Novak's going to have he's going to have a little bit of a lull and help Karatsev out a little bit, like he did in that game in the second set when Karatsev was able to break. Karatsev is also going to have to take some risk on some opportunities if he gets them. There's a little bit of a beat. It's hard to imagine Karatsev playing and hitting 4 winners through the course of a service game against Novak with his movement and defensive skills. Needs a little bit of help like that on a couple points to give himself an advantage.
He also saw the physical battle there. He'd done double the number of sprints as well, and that's the thing that Novak does. Just makes you work that hard, takes your legs away.
That's a tiny bit of a tactical error there from Novak. Left that ball right here off the backhand, right in the middle of the court, and Karatsev treated that ball with no respect whatsoever.
This is impressive. This is not a dip from Novak. This is just wonderful tennis from Karatsev.
This was an amazing half volley pickup off the baseline. Novak had hit that backhand aggressive, heavy cross court. Just flicked down the line by Karatsev.
Techniques all over this court. I mean, that is a firecracker.
That was bigger than a firecracker. That was a stick of dynamite. Shows you how much I know.
Wow.
He got a little bit of help from Novak in that game on the 1 point.
2 games all.
But the rest of that was based on him just taking some extra risk and pummeling balls. Those 2 forehands that he hit for winners cross court were absolutely crushed.
Those forehand, they take a lot of strength, don't they, to impart enough spin at that speed. If you hit it from A to B as fast as that, you need tons of spin to keep the ball in the court, and that comes from strength. He's a He's a bull.
We've seen some really intricate rallies produced between these two. Another one fine, another fine one there.
Excellent feel on the little volley, the first volley, which wasn't easy. Novak had dropped that all the way down at his feet.
Aerial view, quite little steps, weren't they, from Karatsev trying to get in there. You kind of feel like he needed some bigger strides to stop producing those breaking steps to get himself a bit closer to the net if possible. He's actually got some pretty good hand skills when he gets there.
Again, the weight of the shot, but the speed of the court helping with that ball just skidding through. Karatsev just couldn't catch up from that position.
From the brilliance from Novak Djokovic. And that is a real tribute and a victory for him.
What's interesting to comment also on the fact that his Australian Open has been going on for, what is it now, 6 weeks?
Yep.
7 weeks? This is his 9th match in the Australian Open. Regardless of whether he wins or loses, he will have played more matches than Novak.
Yeah, in some ways, of course, playing in Doha and having a bit of a break to fly in and then get ready maybe help some of the qualifiers. We talk a lot about, oh, they're going to be match tight, but more often than not, when they come up against the better players in the opening round, that doesn't seem to actually transpire.
Yeah, they played that in Doha and then had enough time for the qualifiers to then fly to Australia and go through their 2 weeks of quarantine here. Definitely a different rhythm to the tournament based on that.
Daniil Medvedev at the ATP Cup called this guy their secret weapon. He's not so secret anymore.
The secret's out of the bag for everybody now.
In the 40s currently, which means that after the rankings come out after the Australian Open, he will be in the 40s. Where do you think he actually is at the level he's played at in this tournament?
I mean, I think the rankings don't lie. So for right now, I put him in the 40s. But I think one of the things that we have to wait and see is how he manages this success. To do is manage success. Everyone thinks that you have a result like this and it automatically translates to a lot more success, but managing those expectations that are created from this situation isn't easy at times. So it'll be interesting to see. He's gonna have a year now at a minimum to play at the tour level week in and week out. He'll hold on to these points.
Detonates another serve past the defences of Karatsev and moves to within 2 games of the final. I think it's important to note that the challenger success that he had after the restart of the tour last year was all on clay as well. So sometimes you can look at it and say, well, he's done well here because this is his favourite surface. That's not the case.
But I do think we've seen what he's capable of through these 2 weeks here in the main draw. And I do think that he has the potential to be ranked another 10, 15, 20 spots higher than where he's at right now. So many firsts here during this period for him. He beats a top 10 player first time. He plays a 5-set match for the first time. Makes the semifinals of a Grand Slam for the first time. But all indications that he can be even a better player than what we're seeing right now from a ranking standpoint. If he can maintain the consistency at the level that he's been able to compete here against the likes of Diego Schwartzman and Felix Auger-Aliassime and this match here with Novak, whether he wins or not, what he's shown us here in this match is that he can compete at this level.
15-13.
There's no question that this is Novak's house, but hasn't looked out of place in it, has he, Karatsev? You do feel at times when you watch them have a great run, feel as though, well, we're going to overdose on them here, but then they're going to go back to obscurity. But that does not feel the case with the Russian.
I think it's actually nice for us and for the sport that this run puts him in a position where we all get to see him play on a much more regular basis. I don't like it sometimes when you see these guys that have a great run on an event like this and their ranking doesn't put them in a position to get into the main draws of events. Sometimes I sometimes think that we should have some type of an exemption type situation in our sport where a great result gets you into a few more tournaments.
He just looks a little bit mentally spent here now. Why wouldn't he be?
Huge all from Novak. The job is almost done tonight. 5-2, third set. And one more good hold of serve, and he will be through to that ninth. A little weariness, obviously, down the other end of the court. Why not? Why wouldn't you expect it? Novak, of course, this week getting past 300 wins at Grand Slams as well. Second in that list to Roger. And this also will be his 7th Grand Slam final since turning 30. As well, getting through here with 28.
What an era of tennis we've lived in. And that statistic, 28 Grand Slam finals, is mind-boggling. Good.
Well, 24 was the number on everyone's lips today with Serena, but in the end, it was Novak who produced a 24-carat gold performance to make his 9th final.